It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs.
Good morning and welcome once again to another show of Where You Live with Gene and Tony. I'm Gene Sullivan.
And I'm Tony Crockett. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Tony. In this last week, we've been celebrating the 4th of July at our lake in Wisconsin. We had a great time. Family members just left early this morning. Did you have a good 4th, Tony?
I had a great 4th. I took a long weekend since you were out of town and had a lot of relaxation with my family.
Oh, great. And we have got, since we're kind of picking things up here again, a lot of great stories that we're trying to keep tabs on. And this morning on Where You Live, we're going to be talking about first in the Star Tribune about a week or so ago, there was an article that talked about May housing. And a question we have, is it all doom and gloom, as some people are saying? Or is there a light at the end of that tunnel? We're going to be talking with a real estate expert on how real estate is faring in the Twin Cities. And secondly, we're going to be following a story out of Florida. There was a law signed into effect just this last week that said that if you are a homeowners association or on a homeowners a condo board, you are now off the hook if you end up releasing personal information of a homeowner in the association, such as their social security number, driver's license number, credit card numbers. And you won't be responsible if you inadvertently disseminate and get that out. Does that seem right to you? Should there be a higher standard that should be held to those that are holding on to that private information? And then if you've been listening to the show at any time at all, you know that Tony and I talk about the three biggest issues in property management. And I call them the 3 Ps: payment, parking, and poop. And we're going to be talking with someone out in New Hampshire a little bit later this morning who is using the dog's DNA as an identification tool to catch those who are not picking up after their pooch. And so we've got that and a whole lot more. But we want to hear from you as well. Tony, the number for our callers?
Yes, please call us at 651-289-4488, 651-289-4488, or email Gene at gene@ncmgi.com.
And with that, it is time now for Property Management in the News. And Property Management in the News today is brought to you by Pest Control Services. Remember, when you need to get rid of unwanted pests in your home or rental property, you want to call someone who's responsive, professional, and a proud member of Angie's List. Give owner Greg Keener a call at 952-894-9748. That's Pest Control Services. Tell Greg you heard his ad right here on Where You Live. And our news article that we're following here came out in the Star Tribune just about a week or so ago. And the title is May's Housing Scene Wilts in State and U.S. And with us to comment about this story this morning are professional, someone who is a graduate of Utah State. He has a bachelor's degree in landscape architecture and environmental design. He has been a real estate agent, investor, developer. He's earned his CCIM designation for Certified Commercial Investment Member. If you've been in the Uptown area, you have seen his billboards that have been vandalized over and over again. He's been voted numerous times and recognized as super real estate agent by Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine, and he's now a partner and owner of the Keller Williams Realty office in the Minneapolis Lakes area. We welcome to the show Cotty Lowry. Good morning, Cotty.
Hey, Gene. How you doing?
Good morning.
Very good.
Hi, Tony.
Thanks for being on the show with us here this morning. You had a chance to read this article from the Star Tribune. I think it came out about a week or so ago. And would love to hear some of your comments because you've been in real estate now for, over 30 years now, right, Cotty?
Yeah, 31 years.
Okay.
It's going to end up being a career if I don't watch out.
It can happen.
May lead to that. Here's what the article says. The headlines say May's housing scene wilts in the state and U.S. And right out of the gate, it says the state's housing market continues to limp along, hobbled by strict mortgage underwriting standards and economic uncertainty. And it begins right away with throwing out a statistic, and we'd love to get your opinion on this too. Everyone wants to throw out statistics here. It says, according to the Minnesota Association of Realtors, the number of closed housing sales throughout the state is down almost 16% compared with last year. And, Cotty, when I hear someone just throw out a statistic like that without any kind of context, to me, I think it doesn't give a real picture of what's going on. Can you kind of refresh the memory of our listeners what the big difference is for why real estate sales are down comparatively from this May from the year before?
Sure. Gene, it's interesting. If you look at the second little headline, first they start out with a bad headline, and then the next one is, yet pending sales rose from last year. So the article sort of whipsaws you in the very beginning. I've thought many times I should read the Strib articles and with a red and a green magic marker put all the positive things in green and all the bad ones in red, and then just kind of treat it like a bar chart kind of, and see what I end up with. Because what you usually see is a whole bunch of red at the beginning of the article and then some green at the end. Because the red very typically, I think it sells papers and it gets your attention, but the fact is there's always some good stuff to say too, but in this case, they were at least good enough to put it in the second paragraph or the second little line. Usually it's down here right on the lower left-hand corner, or right-hand corner, I should say. What happened was this article was written in June. It came out June 22nd. It was based on information from May of 2011. And if you look, you can't really base anything on May of 2010. If you're really going to compare numbers, you should look at 2008, 2009, because in 2010, we had the government's tax credit that ended on April 30th, and there was a frenzy of purchasing for the wrong reason, in my opinion. In March and April of 2010, I think we got up to like 1,500 sales in April of 2010. And then this year it dropped back to about 1,000 sales a month. Sorry, I should say. And that's about where we have been all year, between 800 and 1,000 sales a month. So this year is much less volatile. Last year was an extremely volatile year in the beginning of the year because of this sort of false economy or this situation created by the $8,000 tax credit that brought buyers in and increased demand in a sort of artificial way.
So how do we compare? Market. How do we compare to 2009? Do you see a steady trend in either direction?
Well, let me give you a couple of websites right off that you can do your own analysis. One is going to have some information on it that isn't available to the public, and I put it up there. It's on my own Facebook business page. It's called Friends of Cotty's Billboard. And, because it's really it's going to be about the graffiti on my billboard.
I'll tell you what, that has to have brought you in a lot of business, I would think.
Oh, man.
Just the attention.
I was out at the airport yesterday trying to get a cup of coffee, and this guy walks up to me and says, "Hey, aren't you Cotty Lowry?" I go, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, I'm a cabbie. I've been driving by your billboard for 17 years." It happened twice yesterday, actually.
Oh, my gosh. My gosh.
If you go to Friends of Cotty's billboard, you'll see a graph that shows actual showing activity, not necessarily sales, but showing activity that shows the number of agents that are out there making appointments. And this is through our listing system, and of course it's not available to the general public. But the showing activity for this year started out at about 100,000 showings a month in the metro area, and we're up now to around 150,000 a month, and it's just climbed in a really nice, even way that we've always seen. It happens every year. Not so many showings when it's cold out, and many more showings in April, May, June. And then typically you start to see a decline through the summer because it gets really hot and everybody goes on vacation. Well, in 2010, we started out with about 100,000 showings a month, but it peaked in April at about 175,000 a month, and then in May it dropped to 100,000. It was like a 40% drop in 1 month, and so you just can't use 2010. If you look at 2009 showings, they actually were a little stronger than 2011, sorry. And you'll see all this on the graph. It's really a good graph. And one thing that's interesting about 2009 is the market held in terms of showings really strongly all the way to through September. And then it started to taper off towards the holidays. So,
say, Connie, we have to go to a quick break right now, but would you be willing to hang over for one more segment to continue talking about this? We'd like to ask you the question next too, also about, is the market actually, we know that it's been correcting itself, but we want to know, in your opinion, if you think that the market has continued correcting. Are we seeing what that new baseline is? We'd like to get your comments if you could stay on for one more segment.
Certainly.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue on with our discussion with Cotty Lowry about the state of the real estate market in the Twin Cities right here on Where You Live with Gene and Tony.